Since October 7th, armed Israeli settlers have launched daily attacks on Palestinian villages in the West Bank, a campaign of ethnic cleansing that has been rapidly escalating over the past weeks, largely in the shadows.
You got it.
Oh, come on, don't hit her! Hey! 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 Hey!
Even many Palestine supporters remain unaware of the full scale of what's happening. But this isn't random violence. It's not rogue actors. It's the strategy of organized settler militias, funded, protected, and oftentimes led by the state itself.
אנחנו כובשים את ארץ ישראל! אנחנו משחררים את עזה! אנחנו מיישבים את עזה!
The groups I am presenting in this video aren't the fringe of Zionism. They are its cutting edge. Implementers of modern Jewish fascist ideology, rising to the highest levels of the Zionist state, meeting this moment of crisis and the Zionist plans to take over the West Bank and Gaza.
זה אוסף של אנשים כביכול ליברליים, הם בעד שנתחתן איתם, אבל בוא נראה ערבייה אחת שמתחתנת עם יהודים.
What is their strategy? Who funds them? And what is their ultimate ambition? Watch this video to learn about the settler cult aiming to redeem humanity by bringing back the Messiah through ethnic cleansing. These videos take a massive amount of time and effort to bring to life, and the algorithm does not favor the topics I cover. If you find value in what I do and want to help keep this channel going, consider supporting on Patreon. Every contribution, big or small, makes a real difference. Thank you for being here. In the last video, we introduced Meir Kahane, a guy from Brooklyn who became the chief ideologue of the far right of Zionism. So basically, the far right of the far right.
Faith in the God of Israel and a strong Jewish hand, that's the way to bring the Messiah.
Kahane became the founder of the Jewish Defense League in New York, who killed alleged enemies of the Jewish people in the US, and then moved to Palestine to create the Kach Party to continue the killing. The Kach sought to implement his ideology, which we now refer to as Kahanism, envisioning Greater Israel and a halachic state. While the Kach was banned, it exerts a greater and greater impact, with followers gaining increasing influence in the Israeli government. Kahanism has returned in a big way, arguably being more relevant today than it was during Kahanist's time. One of the people seeking to realize the Kahanist plan is his grandson, who already at age 19 published his manifesto, outlining his vision for redemption. In November of 1998, in an attempt to sabotage so-called peace efforts, then Israeli Defense Minister Ariel Sharon gave a now infamous call to young settlers to grab the hilltops in the occupied West Bank, saying, "Everyone that's there should move, should run, should grab more hills, expand the territory. Everything that's grabbed will be in our hands. Everything we don't grab will be in their hands." This call inspired young Kahanists like Netanel Ozeri, who built the outpost called Hilltop 26. Eventually, these young settlers would congeal into a network that became known as the Hilltop Youth, to settle and redeem all of biblical Eretz Israel by force. Many wear large knitted kippahs and belong to the Hardal, the religious Zionist Jewish community that believes Israel is Atchalta de Geulah, the beginning of redemption. The leader of the Hilltop Youth is said to have been a disciple of the religious Zionist rabbis who believed Zionism, and especially the redemption of the areas seen as the biblical heartlands, like Hebron and Samaria, constitute early steps in a divinely ordained process leading to the coming of the Messiah, the descendant from Israel's ancient king, David. The leader is the now 33-year-old Meir Ettinger, the son of Meir Kahanist's daughter. Just like his grandfather, he wants to institute a Jewish theocratic state in a greater Israel, with the same minimal borders that are mentioned in the Bible. The rebuilding of the land through farming, construction, and sovereignty would elevate the Jewish people spiritually, preparing them for a full religious revival. This phase included the development of a Jewish army, state institutions, and Hebrew culture, which are seen as vessels for holiness. Eventually, as some influential religious Zionists believed, the secular elements of the state would give way to a Torah-based society where Jewish law and mysticism would guide Israeli life. In the final stage, King Messiah, the Mashiach, would arrive and rule the world, not just to save the Jews, but to bring about universal redemption. All of humanity would recognize God, the temple in Jerusalem would be rebuilt, and the world's nations will be united, finally ending all war, poverty, oppression, and injustice. So essentially in practice, ending those things by doing those things. Remember that Christianity emerged out of one form of this Jewish messianism, with the difference that in the Christian version it is believed that the Messiah is Jesus, who already came once, and will return to complete the Messianic age in the second coming. In my first video about the origins of Zionism, we learned that modern Zionist colonialism originated from powerful Christian Zionists, who are the crucial reason why the Zionist idea began to receive support by Western powers in the first place. As discussed in that video, biblical justification was also used in colonizing the Americas and other regions. But Meir Ettinger and his Kahanist friends believed that this eternal messianic age must not be waited for, but that it had to be brought about by force. The key is not to seek to delay the explosion, but to try to bring it on as soon as possible and on our own initiative. In his view, a national explosion would be necessary to accelerate the crisis that would overthrow the existing order and pave the way for a radical religious revolution. The group regularly kills or steals livestock, destroys ancient olive groves, and has burned down mosques, churches, or homes, often while live streaming it. In the 2015 Duma arson attack, they firebombed a Palestinian home, burning an 18-month-old baby alive. In May of this year, the Hilltop Youth built a new outpost just 100 meters from the Palestinian village of El Mughayir, forcing 150 residents to flee. Israeli soldiers and police were present, but did nothing. Their strategy is deceptively simple. Establish facts on the ground. Build an outpost quickly, often overnight. Plant a flag, put up a tent or a caravan, then wait for the state to respond. As discussed in the other video, so-called left-wing Zionism plays the role of crying about the so-called illegal outposts, providing a fake humanist face to the occupation, while doing nothing significant to prevent it, and to the contrary, facilitates that expansion. There are now hundreds of these outposts, but the government rarely demolishes them, of course. On the contrary, many are later retroactively, quote-unquote, legalized, supplied with water, electricity, and roads, all subsidized by the state. But while the Hilltop Youth has grown and gained quick success, it is not the biggest settler organization. While the Hilltop Youth is more underground, the larger and more visible Zionist far-right settler group is called Lehava, flame in English. Last year, the US labeled it the largest violent extremist organization in Israel. Its founder, Ben-Zion Benzi Gopstein, is also a famous Kahanist. Gopstein, who was mentored by Meir Kahane himself, was a council member of an Israeli settlement called Kiryat Arba. His close friend, who's from that same settlement, would become a famous politician. current National Security Minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir. Gopstein has publicly praised fellow Kach member Baruch Goldstein's 1994 massacre in Hebron we talked about in the last part. After Kahanist's assassination in 1990, Gopstein was briefly arrested in connection with the still unsolved killing of an Arab couple. Quote, "Some 45 years ago, Rabbi Kahanist shouted and cried out that the enemies within us are a cancer, and that if we don't take this cancer and get rid of it, we won't continue to exist. Unfortunately, this dangerous cancer of coexistence has metastasized everywhere. Your day will come, Azmi. We are waiting for the Israeli government to come and hang you from the tallest tree. Azmi, only thanks to Rabbi Kahane will we make sure you are hanged one day." In 2015, he was recorded endorsing the burning of churches and later called for expelling Christians from Israel and banning Christmas. Following his mentor Kahane, he also argued for a ban on sexual relations between Jews and non-Jews. As a director of the publicly funded organization Hemla, he worked on saving the daughters of Israel from dating Arab men. Hemla received close to $200,000 each year from the state. Lehava is known for their death to Arabs or death to leftists chants, and for putting those chants into action. In December 2014, 3 Lehava members were arrested for setting fire to a mixed Arab-Jewish school on November 29. The lawyer who represented them in court, Itamar Ben-Gvir. But the organization gained international attention when it sent an open letter to Israeli model Bar Refaeli, urging her to end her relationship with Leonardo DiCaprio. It also publicly opposed the marriage of Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chan. Several religious women affiliated with Lehava released a public letter warning Israeli women not to interact with non-Jews and that doing so would distance them from their holy race. In case you think only a fringe lunatic minority of Israeli society has such views, you are wrong. Surveys regularly find that their positions are not that fringe, to say the least. For instance, one poll found that about every second Israeli Jew supported a right-wing rabbi's call to banning the sale or rental of homes to non-Jews. Liberal Zionists, in an attempt to shield their colonial project, often describe these forces as fringe, but both groups maintain direct and indirect connections to sitting parliament members, ministers, and state institutions. Lehava is closely linked to the far-right party Otzma Yehudit, led by Ben-Gvir. Both groups operate out of the same office in Jerusalem. Lehava employs prominent Kahanists like Baruch Marzel or its spokesman, ex-parliament member Michael Ben-Ari. Nazi Zionist and current Minister of Finance Bezalel Smotrich controls budgets that fund settlement infrastructure and pushes for the formalizing of outposts created by the Hilltop Youth. While the Hilltop Youth and Lehava are not registered, other organizations within the network are, such as HaShomer Yosh, who receive money through both institutions of the state and a complex web of various backers within and outside Israel, including influential evangelical Zionist organizations like Kufi, who provide tens of millions of dollars each year for settler infrastructure. In January of this year, Trump lifted sanctions on the HaShomer Yosh, and the organization further receives millions from the Central Fund of Israel, which is run by the Marcus brothers. Other powerful US or European capitalists, like the Falik family, are more directly involved with funding settler expansion. But the whole framing of the far-right being fringe is ridiculous anyway, considering that a majority of Israeli Jews support the genocide in Gaza, just like the majority supported the so-called leftist Zionists who led the genocide during the Nakba. Back then, the kibbutz settlements at the frontiers were also considered illegal under international law until several years passed and facts on the ground were established. While some Israeli voices expressed their condemnation and concerns, the cutting edge of settler colonialism does not need majority support while it conquers, as long as it doesn't receive majority resistance. Today, the so-called left-wing kibbutz movement aligns with the far-right. Last year in February, the outgoing chairman of the kibbutz movement, Nir Meir, said, "The settlers are not wrong, the right is right. Through settlements and only through settlements can our sovereignty be enforced. There will be no peace with the Palestinians. One key group we didn't talk about is another settler cult, which became known not only for blocking humanitarian aid, but which, especially since October 7th, have been preparing to colonize Gaza with direct support from the Israeli military. In the next part, we'll examine how settler violence and Kahanist ideology are shaping Israel's political future and its current concrete plans for Gaza's final takeover.